Well, now let's be honest, it looks like I've done this so that I can keep 2 motorbikes. I'm not saying I have, I'm not saying I haven't, but it does look much nicer, and I've got a lot more room to move in there now. So that done, I turned my attention back to the fuel filler, and by this point I'd decided that what we actually had was, we had the inner circle, which is dark grey, which has a couple of marks on it, but they're not bad, you can't really notice them. Then we've got the outer silver ring, which is terrible and flaking paint and chips, etc. And then there's another outer ring, which is actually the seal, which is black, and the whole thing doesn't work. Even without the problems with the paint chipping, etc., the whole thing doesn't work. The colours are just not right. So I had to get the fuel filler off. In my mind, I was thinking, if that outer silver ring is repainted satin black, it'll tie in nicely with the rubber seal. I've then got a black outer ring and a dark grey inner circle, and the outer ring will probably contrast nicely with the stainless steel bolts. So that's what I set out to do. And I must say, when I came to refit the fuel filler, and I actually looked at it afterwards, when I looked at the before and I looked at the after, it turned out even better than I thought it would. The contrast between the before and the after it's like night and day, and the new satin black outer ring really does contrast well with the stainless steel bolts. And then came the biggest job of all of them, the steering stop. Of course, the steering stop is actually what she failed her MOT on last July, and it's the reason why the previous owner seems to have done nothing with the bike since last July, and ultimately ended up selling the bike as spares or repairs, because it's a major job, heavily involved, and I guess he just didn't want to do it. I might be wrong, I don't know for sure, but it would stand to reason. I've done a steering stop before on Rafiki, and it wasn't pleasant in the slightest. So in order to get this steering stop sorted out, the first thing we had to do was remove her pretty frock. And whilst removing her pretty frock, more specifically whilst removing her nose cone, it became apparent that the whole nose cone, headlights, clocks, mirrors, basically everything, the nose cone and everything bolted to it, the whole contraption was loose and was flopping about the place. And in a way it kind of answered a question that I'd had. You see, I noticed, and I didn't take a picture of it, and it's really hard to see on the picture that I have got, where the nose cone met the fairing on the right hand side, there was a huge gap at the top, whereas at the bottom the nose cone, the plastic of the nose cone had actually gone over the top of the fairing, which was rather weird. But now I know why. It's because the nose cone was flopping about. And it turns out it was flopping about because on the front of that bike you have a ram air duct, and the entire weight of the nose cone, headlights, mirrors, clocks, screen, the whole lot hangs on this air duct and then is tied in at the sides with the fairings. And this ram air duct bolts on via some captive nuts, some rather small square captive nuts that sit inside plastic housings, and 3 out of the 4 of these plastic housings had broken. And captive nuts serve their purpose if they're done properly. Having the entire weight of a nose cone hanging on by little captive nuts inside plastic housings that were only about 8mm thick, it's utterly ridiculous. And I'm rather disappointed with Triumph that they actually made the bike like this. It's ridiculous. So I took all of that off, and then I had a decision to make as to how do I fix this? What do I do here? Because I've still got my steering stop to sort out, but now I've also got this problem of the entire nose cone and what to do about it. Let's take a break for a second. So first thing I did was take everything off, strip it all down, and just see what I was working with. I then realised this ram air duct is, yeah, it's kaput. It's completely broken. 3 out of the 4 mounts. I could have tried fixing it, re-gluing it, but one of the mounts was completely missing. I had the parts for 2 of the mounts, and I guess I could have tried and refashion that. But the thing is, it already broke because it's a terrible design flaw. There's far too much weight for the thickness of plastic that they've used. So then I looked at getting another one, and yes, I could get the part. It costs 200 quid, which frankly takes the and I've decided not to go and get the replacement part. Firstly, because 200 quid takes the but also secondly, the part's already broken once through its design flaw. Do I want to go and spend 200 quid on a part that's probably going to break again because it's so badly designed? No, I definitely don't. So I am looking at making a piece, like a square piece, to just sit inside the mount that we've got at the front of the bike. That can provide captive nuts. I will do what I was going to do for the steering stop, which is having a bracket coming down across and up with the steering stop at the bottom. Then I will cut off the original mounts for the ram air and have it held to the front of the bike via a clamp, which is probably going to be another bracket on each side. But it's a lot of work, it's a lot of fabrication. I need a bracket for the middle, bracket for the outside, and then 2 brackets on each side to provide some sort of clamp to hold the ram air onto the front of the bike. It was so much easier with Rafiki, because the whole of his nose cone is held on by those two rather big, substantially sized bolts there. Nice and easy, nice and simple. But no, not Laren. Triumph, sorry, terrible design flaw there. It's a lot of work to do. The middle piece, yes, the middle piece that fits inside the frame, that's going to be one piece. That'll provide captive nuts. Then you've got the other three brackets. I could actually just make the steering stop bracket, put the ram air on, make some clamps to hold the ram air in place, and then weld that to the steering stop bracket. So instead of having three brackets there, just make the whole thing in one piece. But it's a lot of fabrication. This is how far we've got so far, and she really is testing me. I feel like every time I go into the garage to work on this bike, she tests me, and she's fighting with me. We're battling every step of the way, and at the moment she's winning more battles than I am. But although, I have to admit that Laren is winning more battles than I am. But I have to say, although she's winning the battles, I am determined to win the war, get her to an MOT station, and get her an MOT.